2021 was quite a roller coaster, but I am looking forward to a better year in 2022. Hey gardeners, Amy here. I haven't had much time this week to put together anything fancy or well thought out. I recently submitted an offer to purchase a property nearby my house, and it was accepted! So that deal has been taking most of my available time the last couple of weeks, and unfortunately I just haven't been able to film the videos I was planning. But I wanted to put something up today, so I thought I would share the lessons I learned last year and my goals for this year. I'm sure I'm not the only one who would say that 2021 was a doozy. For us, it started out great. I had hired an amazing crew of people, not quite as many as I had wanted, but enough to get the work done. Then I started getting calls from new clients, which is normal. I usually get calls from new clients, but this was a lot of calls from a lot of new clients. It seemed like a lot of people were sitting at home and suddenly having the time to just enjoy their yards and realizing that they wanted their yards to be better. They also had all of this sweet, sweet stimulus money burning a hole in their pocket. I'm not sure if that was really the case for everyone, but it sure seemed like I was getting a lot more calls than usual. I was booking up to 5 consultations every week for 6 weeks out. It did not even dawn on me, the problem I was creating, until one of my fabulous supervisors knocked some sense into me and pointed out that there was no way we were going to get all of these projects done before winter. That was in late June. I realized that she was right. If I kept booking consultations, we were going to be so far behind that we would be pushing work into the next year. So I had to stop. But I didn't want to lose all of those potential clients, so I started a waiting list. At first, it felt really strange, taking potential clients and just putting them on a list. But we promised them that we would stay in touch. We would send them our spring letters, which are actually going out next week, by the way. We would explain our plan for the year and hopefully give them some idea of when we could get started on their work. That list now has nearly 40 names on it, and there are still people that contacted me from our website in the later part of last year that I have not gotten back to. Needless to say, I'm pretty sure we're booked for the remainder of this year as well. But that all depends on how many new hires I can find. My goal is to hire about 15 new gardeners in addition to the 6 or 7 that are planning to return from last year. Learning limits was probably the most important lesson I got last year. I realized that a major source of stress was my voicemail. I had always promised on my voicemail greeting to return your call by the end of the next business day. But having that self-imposed deadline was creating a lot of stress, and I didn't like it. So I changed my voicemail to say that I have been very busy, I don't know when I will call you back, but I will call you back at some point. It might have been a week later, but I did eventually return everyone's calls. And nobody complained, which was great. Limiting the number of consultations that I do means controlling the number of jobs that we have in our queue. It really is a good thing we stopped when we did, because our schedule became such a mess of trying to manage all of these projects that we were behind on, that it was really hard to keep everything straight. In addition to that, when I stopped booking new consultations, I had already scheduled them halfway through August. We finished all but 3 of the projects. Those 3 that we did not get to, I had already told them in their consultations that I was not sure if we would manage to start them before winter, so they were aware of the situation, and they will be the first projects to begin this year as soon as spring cleanups are done. So that was learning limits with consultations. The other limits that I had to come to terms with were my own. I have a very bad habit of overextending myself. I'm sure I'm the only one in the world who does this, but I have ideas absolutely pouring out of my head all the time. Most of them I just write down so that I can forget about them and move on, but every now and again I have one that just niggles on me and I have to act on it. Last year I was so busy dealing with just the day-to-day of scheduling and managing things that there was no way I could take on any additional projects. Those of you who have been watching for a while probably noticed that I didn't post any new videos for nearly 6 weeks last summer. I was just too swamped, and something had to give. I have never been so overwhelmed as I was last summer. I usually overextend myself, but I can always manage. This was my first experience with honestly not having any idea how to continue. I just kept going, one step at a time, looking to the end of the season when I could collapse in a heap and not move for at least a month. This affected my mental health as well as my physical health, and I know it affected my business. My hope is just that my employees and clients didn't notice how bad it was getting. I know that my office assistants noticed because they work closely with me every day and I often speak to them about what's going on, and they help me organize my thoughts. But I hope that everyone else was blissfully unaware of exactly how chaotic things were. So my biggest goal for this year is to put myself first. I realize that I cannot take care of anyone else if I'm not taking care of myself. That includes my business, my employees, and my clients, but also not to forget my family and those closest to me. I had begun to implement a hard stop at 5 o'clock, meaning I stopped working, set my phone down, and went to be with my family. That was something I had not focused on doing before. I always still had my phone with me. I'd be returning texts while making dinner, all kinds of things. I also focused on getting more sleep than ever because if I hadn't, I would not have been able to keep going. I implemented self-care, which for me was spending time in my garden. There were several weeks last year where I managed to get up just a little bit early and go deadhead some daylilies and pull a couple of weeds. That was enough to keep my spirits high for that day. I will be continuing that routine this year. I will also be delegating as much as possible. That's always been my intention. I cannot work on my business if I'm too busy working in my business, but there are a few tasks that I have yet to be able to successfully delegate. Mainly scheduling. For us, the schedule is not simply who is working on what day. It's what clients do we have to do this day, who is already experienced with those clients, and who would be best for those jobs. Also, for projects, what do we need to get done before we can even start that work? There are a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things to think about. The problem I've run up against is that all of that information is collectively in my head, and only parts of it are in everyone else's. So there's not one other person that can take on this schedule. I've managed to delegate pieces of it, but never the whole thing. This has become a major speed bump to our growth. I'm still not sure how I will do it, but this year I really want to get the whole task of scheduling delegated to someone else. I will be hiring an assistant for filming and managing the channel. Another problem with how I've managed things in the past is that, while I have people that advise me on the videos and occasionally help me film, it's still all in my head, and my head alone. The planning, the filming, and working with my editor is all me. I would like to hire someone part-time to assist me in managing all of this so that the daily minutia can be done by someone else, freeing up my time to work on the business more. I will not be scheduling consultations until right before we are able to start the work. It's really interesting to see how things have evolved over time. In my first couple years, when I got a call from a new client, it was almost always someone who had met me personally somewhere, and I had given a business card, or someone who was a friend of one of my current clients. I would schedule their consultation for right away and start the work for the following week. When you have only 15 or 30 clients, this is no big deal. I had employees from the start in my first year, so we were able to do the work, no problem. I believe it was either my third or fourth year that the number of new client calls started to increase exponentially. I was still booking the consultations right away, but then realized that there was no way we could start 5 new clients in 1 week. So I started booking only 2 consultations a week to spread them out. We were able to start 2 new clients each week that year. I kept doing that strategy for several years. Last year, we had started with a crew of 12 people, and I thought it was fairly reasonable that we could start 4 or 5 new projects each week. And we probably could have if all of those employees had stayed. But I knew better. History has shown me that I will hire a bunch of great people first thing in the year, but some never make it to their first day, some never finish their first week, and some move on to other things a few weeks after starting. It's just the nature of things. Not everyone is a good fit for me, and I am not a good fit for everyone. People leave for their own reasons, and there are a lot of reasons that people leave. By around mid-May, our amazing crew of 12 was down to about 6. That was a much larger loss than usual, and that was right when the labor market shortage was really starting to take off. I could not replace the people I had lost. On top of that, every time someone had a COVID exposure, they had to quarantine for 2 weeks, so they weren't on the schedule. We also had that insane heat wave where we were out working by 5 a.m., but we had to stop by 10 because it was just too hot. So we weren't able to work a full day. When that finally ended in August, we had the smoke to contend with, and then thankfully there were not many days when we were rained out in the fall, but it would have just been par for the course at that point. My point with this is that I cannot predict any of these variables that were affecting us last year. I should not schedule consultations or new work to be done before we can actually do it. So I will now only be booking consultations when I know that we can start shortly after that meeting. It would be amiss for me to not share my goals for this channel. I really enjoy being a YouTuber and I'm having a lot of fun with this. But I also realize that adding it on top of my very full plate can be very stressful sometimes. And I was hoping to see better results after 2 years and well over 100 videos, but it is what it is. My goal is to post at least one video every Friday. And I also have several other videos planned for other days in the week through the growing season. My goal for subscribers is to reach 1,000 by the end of this month and 2,000 by the end of this year. The channel is still trying to find itself, so to speak. I keep saying that the purpose of this channel is to assist professional gardeners and share different business ideas, so I will be interviewing several other business owners and professionals who work in the green industry. But most of my videos are still on how to garden, troublesome weeds, and useful tools to use, and I'm struggling with not just turning it into a vlog like all of the other successful gardening channels. So I'm still working out exactly what this channel is about, but it will always remain about gardening and other green businesses. You guys may not know that I am also a real estate investor. I have another business that I use to fix up houses and either sell them or rent them. It's always my goal every year to purchase at least one new property. Most years I do not achieve this, and recently with the market being as crazy as it has been, I have not even tried to buy a new property because nothing has been worth buying. I did sell my rental, and we used the profit from that to pay off our home, so we're really excited about that. As I mentioned earlier in this video, I'm currently working on purchasing a property. This one is a duplex right around the corner, and it is the first property I have seen in years that actually fits the 1% rule. This is a quick calculation of potential rental income. You should be able to rent a house for 1% of its purchase price. That way it cash flows and it will become a very profitable property. So I'm very excited about that, and if the deal closes, I'll do a video on what I plan to do with the yard, and if you're all interested, I might even show you the inside. My personal goals for this year are to take care of myself, to take better care of my family, and to enjoy more time with my husband and daughter. Matt has been planning a D&D game for like 2 years that I have not had time to start playing. We are hoping to start that this weekend. Also, we never really had a honeymoon when we got married, so we're hoping to take a trip somewhere this year, just the two of us. Lily has been dabbling in filming her own videos, a super cute little junior YouTuber, so I'll be helping her with that as well as playing in the garden with her more. Well, there you go. Now you know more about me than most people. Please wish me luck on all of these endeavors, and I wish you the best luck in yours. If you enjoyed this content, remember to like the video, and if you haven't already, you can click this button right here to subscribe for more gardening content. Stay warm and safe this winter, everybody, and I will see you soon in the garden. You just want to be in my video. Look at this cutie. Here she is.